FPL managers, welcome back. It's been a long international break, but thankfully we are back and game week 12 is almost upon us. I know as FPL managers, most of us are still figuring out what to do next, who to replace some of the injured players, who to even captain. But not to worry, in this video, we have all of that covered. We are going to give you tips as to how to excel to see those green arrows in your mini leagues and other leagues as well. So this is the locker room vibes inside the FPL segment. Before we do get into it, I would like you to kindly hit that subscribe button, like, share, leave a comment, let's know what your plans are, and let's grow the channel together. Alright, so getting into it, game week 12, as I said, is almost upon us. And first of all, I want to just look how the fixtures are looking heading into game week 12. Very important. So it starts on Saturday with Chelsea taking on Burnley. That is an early kickoff, very interesting there. We hope for the best. Followed by Bournemouth taking on West Ham United. We have Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Brentford. We have Fulham taking on Sunderland. Liverpool v Nottingham Forest. Then Wolves v Crystal Palace. Then we end around with City taking on Newcastle United. Then on Sunday we have Leeds United taking on Aston Villa, Arsenal, Spurs. So that is like the biggest game of the round. Then on the end on Monday with Manchester United taking on Everton. That is how it's looking. It looks very laid out or set out, but we hope for the best when it comes to results and also returns for most FPL managers. So that's how it's looking for the fixtures. So let's see the fixture difficulty rates, and very important, because if you decide to use a wild card now, you would want to pick a team that at least can give you a solid returns within the next 2 to 3 game weeks. And it's very important to have your FDR looked at, you know which teams your players are facing in the coming weeks, and you can make a very good decision. So we have Arsenal, they have great fixtures, so 3 FDL key of 3 for the next 3 fixtures, so it's going to be very tricky for them. And here's the Arsenal team, who have a lot of injuries now heading into these fixtures. They have one of their key defenders out with an injury for the next minimum, I think, 4 weeks. So let's see how that goes for them. Let's see how Arteta is going to set up his team, and how it's also going to affect us as FPL manager. So if you still have hopes in Arsenal defense, it's not bad. You have various options in Saliba. You have Timber to be also good option. You could also go for a Saka in attacking. You could go for Trossard in attacking. These players are sure to give you good returns, and a differential solid midfielder in Declan Rice to also give you returns, hopefully. Then you should be good to go. So let's see how it's going to go for Arsenal players. So this wouldn't be a good time to really invest all out, but they've had a good run. So why take them out now? You could easily still go for a Saliba or a Timber, and you should be good to go. Aston Villa seem like they are trying to get things done, so you could get a few players from there, at least a defender and a midfielder, so Morgan Rogers can be a good differential. You could have Cash, you could have Corsa as good differentials in your team, and you should be good to go. Bournemouth are also coming in strong, very good differential in Senesi as a defender, so that is going to be a good option for a Travanier too. It's also a good option as well. You have Bedford, Thiago. It seems like a very good option nowadays, so you could look at him. Brighton, Hove Albion, they have some tricky fixtures coming up. Burnley have some tricky fixtures. Chelsea have kind of a good run coming. After they take on Burnley, they take on Arsenal, then Leeds United. So if they're able to go through this successfully, and if you have any Chelsea player, you should be smiling, and hopefully Cole Palmer should be returning soon. So let's see how that goes. Estevao also went on the international break, performed very well, but let's see how that affects his club performance. Then we have Leeds, we have Crystal Palace, who have some very good fixtures coming up. So you could most definitely get some Crystal Palace players. You could have a Munez, you could have a Mateta. Very, very good option. Mitchell as well, very good options for you. Then Everton, they have some tricky fixtures. Fulham have some tricky fixtures after the Sunderland game, so you want to be very cautious. Leeds United have some tricky fixtures. Liverpool seem to have a very good run coming up. So the question is this the time to really invest in this Liverpool team that have struggled so far this season? I think yes, you could invest in at least one or two, and your returns wouldn't be too bad. City have a good run also coming up after the Newcastle game. And even Newcastle, even though it's dicey, it still could go their way. So they have a good run. Let's put it that way. So you should most definitely have your Haaland. Other players are always on rotation, so you didn't really know. O'Reilly seems like a good option for defense. I think he's been starting a lot. He also performed during the international break, so you could keep an asterisk on him and just monitor. Or you could just have him as a differentials. Most definitely have your Haaland and you should be good to go. Foden to be a good option, and we see how that goes as well. Manchester United also have a good run coming. Let's see how well they'll be able to continue. Things haven't really seen. They've gone through a good run of late, but the question is, can they really keep that going? So fingers crossed. You could most definitely get an Mbeumo. I think Bruno Fernandes would be a differential. So he picked up a good performance in the international break. So most definitely you could go for him as a differential if you want, and you should be okay. Newcastle have a tricky set coming, Nottingham Forest as well. Then Spurs too have a tricky run coming up, Sunderland as well, West Ham as well, Wolves as well. So a few teams you could be looking at: Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool. You could be also looking at Fulham. You could also be looking at Crystal Palace. You could be looking at Chelsea. You could also be looking at Bournemouth. You could be looking at Brentford. You could also have Aston Villa and Arsenal. So these teams, you should most definitely get at least one or two players from these teams, and you should be good to go for at least the next 2 to 3 game weeks if you are not really certain on what to really do. So we look at the player stats, how he's looking, how the players have been faring of late. So when it comes to players and form, you have Casemiro leading the charts, followed by Van de Ven. You have Mbeumo in the mix, Martinez, Gabriel, Rice. These are players in form, but that was for game week. That was for the previous game week 11. So those were the players on form. So if you feel it could run over into game week 12, most definitely you could have one or two from here. Gabriel, the injury, so you'd want to be very cautious when it comes to him. So most transferred in now, Mbeumo is leading the charts. I always say if you are not really certain what to do, you could just go for the most transferred in, avoid the most transferred out, go for the most selected. Then you have your team set, and that is how you get it done. So Mbeumo, Thiago, Mateta, you have your forward set. Then you go to midfield, you could have your Doku, Rice. You could also have Caicedo. So you have your midfield almost set. Saboslai as well. Ismail Assar. So your defense, your midfield is set. You could have Xhaka, you could have Saka with your midfield getting set. Then defense, you'll be looking at Simba, you could be looking at Virgil van Dijk, Nunes, O'Reilly. So I've mentioned all these players before we even got here. So it seems what I was looking at, most managers are also looking at. So as a player, so if you are really not certain what to do, this is your team. You just have everything set, everything has been set out for you. You just need to follow and you should be good to go. So at least the first 10 to 15 players can easily be in your team. Have Haaland there as well. Most managers have him already, so you don't have him at the top. So that is how it's looking so far. And that is going to be a good option for you once you have them. You could also consider their influence, creativity, and all that, and you know how things are looking. So let's see the most selected, how it's looking. So as I said, most selected, if you are not sure, you just come to most selected and see how things are looking. So you have Haaland in the mix, you have Pedro, you have Dubravka, you have Mbuebo, you have Van de Ven, you have Mateta, Simba, Senisei, Virgil van Dijk, Salah, Cucurella, Caicedo, Rice, Voltamed. So you have a good number of players. So you just consider this, you go to your most transferred in, you do give and take. You also consider the FDR. Then you are good. You have your team set. If you are looking at differentials, just go a little bit down. Look at players that most managers are not looking at. Consider their influence and creativity, and you should have your team set. So when it comes to this game week, I'm sure most of us are still contemplating who to go for captaincy. So there are so many options out there, but it seems Mbuebo, Haaland are leading the charts for some category of managers. So if you have them, you could be looking at having Haaland, you could be looking at getting Mbuebo to be your captain, and you should see some green. You should also consider Mateta in the mix as well. So these three players are leading the charts. You have Salah in the mix thereabout, but it's not too. Most managers don't have so much hope in him. So these four players, you could easily get a good captaincy from any of them. And if you decide to use your chip, this is the team that you could get. I've mentioned them. I always don't want to go for a pinpoint team. I give you so many options. Just pick the ones that you feel would be okay for you and you should be good to go. So that's how I was looking for that. Then for the team review, so I'm going with this team for game week 12. I have Virgil, I have Kosa, Menez, Gravenberg, I have Saka, Mbuebo, Semenyo, Voltamed, Mateta, Thiago. That is my team for game week 12. And I'm captain Mateta. So let's see how that goes. And let's see whether maybe we will fall on the green side of things. As I said, I'm focusing on differentials for sometimes, so you didn't really see a lot of the popular players in my team. But this is my decision for the first half of the season. Then the second half of the season, we try something else. All right, so leave a comment, subscribe, like. Let's get interactive, and we hope for the best. We are out.